Hello friends, this is Bhatia from Sukhmani Immigration Services, Brampton, Canada. I am a regulated and licensed Canadian immigration consultant. Today, I'll be talking about a particular kind of visa which is applied maximum. What is it? What are the details? I'll share everything with you. But before that, a small request, if you are new to the channel and have not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. We talk a lot about Canadian immigration news, update, tips and tricks on this channel. If you like the video, please share it with your family and friends, and please also press the bell icon so this video comes to you immediately when we upload. So without further delay, let's get on to a very important topic, which is about a comparison. A comparison between a visitor visa and super visa. So, I get so many queries. Which one is right for me? Can I apply that? Can I apply this? So today I will be clearing all these doubts for you. I will be giving you two important tips at the end of the video. So keep watching till the very end so that you can listen to those two important tips. So let's get started. The first important thing is let's talk about the similarities. So similarities between visitor visa and super visa. First of all, both visitor visa and super visa basically provide you temporary entry to Canada. It's not a permanent entry, it is a temporary entry. So both offer you temporary entry to Canada. The application process for both visitor visa and super visa is almost similar. And on both visa, you cannot work in Canada. Remember this, you cannot work in Canada on visitor visa or super visa. Number 4, the government fee is same for both visas. The government fee is $100 per person for visitor visa. The government fee is $100 per person for super visa. The biometrics is required in both cases and the fee is also the same, $85. Lastly, very important, admissibility requirement. You need to satisfy the visa officer that you do not have any kind of criminal record and you are admissible to Canada. In both cases, it is required. So these are some of the common points between a visitor visa and super visa. Now, let's look at the important differences. So many differences, we'll share one by one with you. I will share with you 10 important differences. So going one by one, starting with the first one. So first difference is the success rate. Visitor visa has comparatively lower success rate, whereas the super visa has a very high success rate. So success rate is the first difference between visitor visa and super visa. Visitor visa, low success rate, super visa, very high success rate. Number 2, target audience or purpose. So the target audience for a visitor visa can be any foreign national. So a foreign national is a person who is not a Canadian citizen or a PR card holder. So for visitor visa, it can be any foreign national who comes to Canada for the purpose of tourism, for meeting friends or families, for business, for conferences, for meetings. So can be anyone. Now, as compared to the visitor visa, super visa, the audience or the purpose is very, very restricted. It is only for parents and grandparents. So if you want to apply for your uncle, aunt, your younger brother, your younger sister, you cannot apply. Only for parents and grandparents you can apply super visa. Now moving on to the third important difference. So third difference is duration of stay and number of entries. So visitor visa, you can stay in Canada up to 6 months. Visitor visa can be a single entry, can be a multiple entry. But now if we compare this with super visa you can stay for 5 years in a stretch without having to renew it. Plus you can renew after 2 years. So you can stay for 7 years. The difference is super visa is always multiple entry, always. Visitor visa can be single entry, can be multiple entry. You can stay maximum 6 months on visitor visa, but super visa you have a long time to stay, and plus it is a multiple entry. Point number 4. So who can apply? So anybody can apply a visitor visa as long as they have the sponsorship from someone who can be their friend, their family, or any business or any meeting. They can apply for a visitor visa to Canada. And in fact, you can apply without sponsorship also. So based on your hotel booking, based on your travel history, you can apply a visitor visa. Whereas if you compare with super visa is, as I said, it is only available to parents and grandparents of who? Of Canadian citizens, of Canadian PR card holders. So plus a Canadian citizen or a PR card holder has to give a written and a signed declaration or promise that he will meet the financial support for parents. So this is also required in super visa. Point number 5, and this is about income requirement. So technically speaking, with regard to visitor visa, sponsor do not need any kind of income requirement. Whereas super visa, it is mandatory that sponsor needs LICO. He is either meeting the LICO or is above the LICO, and when you are counting how many people you are, then you have to count yourself and your parents. So if I am a Canadian citizen or a PR card holder, then I am calling my parents. So I am 1, plus if I am not married, I don't have any kids, I am single here in Canada, I am a Canadian citizen and a PR card holder, I am calling my both parents. So 1 plus 2 is 3. So I have to meet the LICO requirement for 3 persons. So I have given all these details, everything in my video about super visa. If you have not watched, you can watch that super visa video. So this is about the difference about the income requirement. Moving on to medical insurance, another important thing. For visitor visa, by law, it is not required that you buy a medical insurance. You can, if you wish to, you can buy a travel insurance, you can buy a medical insurance on a visitor visa just to safeguard yourself. But by law, it is not required. As compared to super visa, it is a mandatory requirement that you need to buy a private medical insurance from a Canadian insurance company, and that insurance needs to be 100,000 or above of coverage. So this is very important difference between a visitor visa and a super visa. Visitor visa, medical insurance is up to you. You want to, you can take it. You don't want, there is no law which is saying that you have to. But super visa, yes, it's a mandatory requirement. Moving on to point number 7, conversion to work permit. So I have a very much like a detailed video on how you can convert your visitor visa to work permit. So if you are having a visitor visa for Canada, if you get a LMIA, based on that LMIA, you can get a work permit. For visitor visa, this is possible. For super visa, this is not possible. So here also is a very, very important difference. You can watch my detailed video on visitor visa to work permit if you have not watched that. Point number 8. So that's medical exam. Generally speaking, for visitor visa, you do not require a medical exam because your stay is less than 6 months. Whereas for super visa, again, it is a mandatory requirement that you pass the medical exam because your stay is more than 6 months. Point number 9. So overall cost. See, the overall cost, why I am telling you, because government fee is same, but visitor visa is cheaper, low in cost. Why? Because in super visa you have to pay additional cost. You have to pay additional cost of medical examination. You have to pay additional cost of medical insurance. So this is mandatory requirement. You need to pay this. Number 10, the last point, suitability. Now, visitor visa is only if you are a Canadian citizen, or super visa you can apply if you are only a Canadian citizen or a PR card holder. Whereas visitors who are not in that category, who are students and who are workers, they can sponsor their parents. They can call their parents here, but on a visitor visa. So if you are a student and you want to call your parents here to Canada, option for you is visitor visa. Similarly, if you are on a work permit, if you are having a postgraduate work permit, or you are having a LMIA based work permit, or you are having without LMIA exempted work permit, you need to call your parents. You can call only on visitor visa. One important thing, Canadian citizen and PR card holder have both the options. If a Canadian citizen or a PR card holder do not meet the income requirement, then they can call their parents on visitor visa. And parents, sometimes, right, parents have different activities. They may have business, or they are having some kind of farming activities back home, or they are working, they are doing the job and they can't stay longer. So for those parents who can't stay long, I think visitor visa is a better choice, and working parents, again, the visitor visa is a better choice. 2 important tips I am going to give you now. So first tip, if you already have a visitor visa, you can still get a super visa. You can still request for a super visa, and the benefit of that is that it will save, because air tickets are becoming very, very costly these days. So you will save on the air ticket cost, and also frequent travel, particularly for the old age people, is not that easy. This is a long travel, 24 hours, 25-hour travel, or even more. Is not easy for old age people. So frequent travel is a hassle. You can save that. And lastly, you can enjoy a longer uninterrupted stay with your children and grandchildren. So this is an important tip. If you already have a visa, visitor visa, you can still apply for a super visa. Tip number 2 is connected with tip number 1. Tip number 2 is, if you are applying for a super visa, you can apply super visa only from home country, not from sitting in Canada. So you want to apply for a super visa, you have to go for a medical exam which can be done from your home country only. So as I always say, goal of every person is different, profile of every person is different. You want to discuss your own profile with us, you want to discuss about any of the Canadian visa or immigration matters, you can connect with us, book an appointment and discuss your case We are located in Brampton, one and only one office in Brampton, and email ID, phone numbers, everything is shared right here with you. Very important thing, if you have still not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. Our team puts lots of effort to bring all this information to you, and thank you very much for watching the video. Thanks.